So for a larger amount of clay, usually I just pour the clay from the outer part to move the clay. You see that I'm using my right thumb to move the clay down. And then use the fingertip to compress it. So this part here is centered. Right? That part is centered. And this part isn't, right? So you go back here and just focus on that part. And so this part is centered. And this part slightly up, you could come back here and just spray the clay up and down a little bit. Right, so that is the technique for centering large amount of clay. You don't need to squeeze a clay sky high and then push it back down. That means you have to squeeze all the clay up and then push it back down. That is a lot of strength. Once you get old, it's very hard to do that up and down. So that my technique is just, see that, just spraying the clay from the outer part here. And also, for a large amount of clay, you don't need to speed up the wheel very fast. You can see that my wheel is not going super fast. Okay, so that's good. And push that. This hand, both hands together, leverage it. The right hand can help my left hand to squeeze down more. The thumb is hanging out there, so when you squeeze down, actually you are compressing the wall. Right, and go all the way until you got to the right thickness. Usually I told you that it's somewhere between 3/8 of inch to 1/2 inch, or could, if you want to have a foot a little bit taller, go more than 1/2 inch. And once you reach there, you could spread out your clay. Keep the base flat. I'm moving out so the base is flat, and then I'm going back there to compress the floor. You could do this a couple times. You can spray the clay from the inner part to outer part, or from outer part to inner part. The key is moving the finger slow. Okay, so that is the opening process. And after that, you could color to make your wall taller by squeezing your wall. Make sure your working surface is slippery, so you constantly recycle your slip. And if not enough, you can put your hand there for a little bit of water, not too much water. You don't usually see me using the sponge to put water here and replicate the surface. That's all you need. Okay. For pouring the wall taller, usually you want to make sure the bottom is a little bit smaller. So I'm going to continue color and squeeze the corner. See that? The corner is smaller. And also the wall now is a little bit thick, so I am going to compress it using this method. Place the right arm here. The inside finger is kind of push that from a little, when you bring the clay in, you will have little indentation there in the very bottom corner. So you're going to raise from there and move it around. Push that against my right hand and slightly move up. If it is not slippery enough, you can lubricate it a little bit and then you can continue pull the wall all the way to the rim. And you see that when I'm pulling it up, I always control the rim. And this amount of slip is very important. Later on, you're going to grab that to stretch it. And when you're shaping, inside has to be very slippery. Right, and color again to make it taller. A little bit water here, recycle the slip. Grab the slip, I tossed it in and then push that. See that? That's how much slip. I push that against the wall and hold it on the inside of the wall. Toss the rest of it in there and keep it the reservoir there. So later on you're going to use that again. Okay, and slightly do my initial lifting. Control the rim. Color to make it taller. Slippery, slippery. And my second lifting. Slippery. Slippery again. So this is my third lifting. Slippery, slippery. Getting tall, so I would stand up and pull. Before I do that, this corner of clay, this hand here to stabilize. And when you bring the clay in, okay. All right. slow down a little bit when it's getting taller. You don't want to go too fast. Right, and still quite a bit of clay on the bottom, so I will push harder.
So what thickness are you going for?
What?
Like at this point, what thickness do you want to end up with before you start shaping?
I will probably leave my neck a little bit taller. That, and then a taller neck. And remember, you are going to stretch it wider. So now actually this height is very tall already. Okay, a little bit too tall.
It's going to come down.
It's going to come down, yeah. So now when I am ready to pour, I'm going to use the same method, the pouring method, but instead of pouring it up, I will start to kind of go that and start to form the shape. Okay. To make sure it is slippery. Actually use all my slip already, right? When I pour, I grab the slip and then coat it on the inside. Now the slip is gone. Inside I don't have the slip. I'm going to reduce the speed of the wheel a little bit. And pour slightly sideways.
So more pressure on the outside than on the inside than the outside?
Oh yeah, more pressure. You want to push it out, so
Okay.
more pressure from the inside. Outside is kind of just stabilize it. Okay, so slightly get my shape down, and then I'm gonna sit down, start to get a better shape. So for munja shape, there are two weakest points that you have to pay attention to. One is the one on the shoulder, okay, this part here. If you are not making it nicely strong, it will collapse, okay? And also here too. So make sure that you pay attention to those two spots. Here I am going to slightly curve it out. When the shape curve out, it will be stronger. Then keep it straight. If you keep it like this structure is not strong. You want a little bit curvature, a little curvature.
Like an arch.
Like an arch, yes. You see that when you build an arch, they don't build it straight, right? They build it a little curve. Same thing. My inside hand is forming like this, right? See that spot has no clay, meaning that spot is touching the wall.
And it's still slippery inside.
It's still slippery inside. And you see when I'm making the small opening, I don't stretch my rim this wide. I always keep it small enough for my arm to insert there. So later on, if I want to close it, this will be much easier. Okay. And you see that when I'm shaping, I didn't add any water at all, right? That the rib is slippery enough on the outside. I don't add any water. On the inside, I still have a slip there, so yep, it's slippery. So for the munja shape, the widest point usually is in the middle. Okay, that's the munja shape. Slightly close the neck.
Is the thickness of the walls about the same from the top to the bottom?
This part here is slightly thinner because this part is stretched more. On the bottom, it's probably the same as here because I didn't pour a lot here on the shoulder. So this part here, if you cut it open, this part here will be a little bit thicker. Also, that part here will be a little bit thicker. Like I told you that.
With the weak points you want to
Yeah, the weak point. Slightly push out the bottom corner so this part here doesn't lift too much of the high foot. Okay. Push out. So that is the munja sheet. You want to stretch further, so I will stop right here and use the torch to heat it up a bit. If I'm just making the munja, I will not use the torch, but we are going to make it flat. So torch it a little bit is fine to get your job done easier. What?
How do you decide when to use the torch?
How?
Like, how do you decide when to use the torch?
When I want the wall to be a little bit stiffer, then I use the torch. Here, if I keep on stretching it very wide, the way from the top will push down and it might collapse or get wobbly eventually. So I don't want the wobbly to go too much. So I start to use the torch right now. Before I torch, I might want to clean up. So later on, this part here is easier to clean. Okay. So the beauty of having aluminum pad is that now you don't worry about you kill your pad.
Heat when you have grainy clay compared to porcelain, like you can't use as much. You use a lot of heat on
I use a lot of heat on this. It's because this needs to stretch
that. Yeah.
wider.
If it was porcelain, would you?
So she was talking about when you stretch too much, the surface becomes rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you stretch it, if you use a metal rib to compress it, you don't have the problem. Well, yeah, if you think this part here is slumping, you can also heat it back. We use a torch again to heat it. So I take care of the bottom portion. It's becoming weak, so I'm gonna use a torch again to heat it up. So after I take care of this part here, I will come back here and do the top. But I want the bottom to be very firm, so it doesn't affect the whole shape. So when you see I am using a heat gun, I didn't even hit here. So this part here is still soft. Uh-huh. Yeah. More curvature, the structure will be stronger. Or you can use a heat gun to do that, right? Use a heat gun to heat it.
Right, so like on that picture, it kind of sinks down, that would be,
That structure is very weak.
yeah,
So, yeah,
this is better.
this is
Okay.
more of a dome shape is better. Yeah. I might not be able to hold water there. That I might have a leak from there. But it's just for decoration piece. I didn't plan it on doing this. It's just when I do whatever I think it's supposed to be.
It's just very
A
scary.
bit spontaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and then keep on. If I take care of that, and keep on closing top.
Hsin, why didn't you cut that part off while you were shaping it to make it easier? Why did you wait till the end?
Oh, I didn't even cut it straight. I like the unevenness on the top.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when you
would-
say that,
You would not straighten that up, you just finish it off.
no. I want the very top to go with the
I see. At the
little
same-
rough,
yeah.
the same feel.
Yeah.
Okay. I would trim maybe just the very bottom here. Trim a little foot ring, yeah, foot ring there. But the rest of them I'm not planning to trim. Yeah, just leave it like that.
Basically finished.
Yeah, it's basically finished. Yeah, basically finished. So that is the demo. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.